was the end of a busy day. The engines had been working hard. They were feeling pleased and proud. Except Henry. He was feeling ill. "What's the matter with you, Henry?" Thomas asked. "My boiler's grumbling." "Maybe it's grumbling at you," teased Thomas. "That's not funny," hissed Henry. "You just don't care." But Emily saw that Henry was leaving a puddle of water behind. She was worried. The next morning, Sir Topham Hatt arrived. "Thomas, Percy, Henry, I want you to collect some freight cars and take them to the docks." "Yes, sir," cried Thomas and Percy. Henry watched the engines puff away. He didn't feel well. "Useful engines don't complain," Henry muttered. He was leaving water everywhere as he chuffed towards the coaling plant. When Emily saw this, she was more worried than ever. Then Thomas and Percy overtook Henry. "Hurry up, Henry!" Percy tooted. "I can't go any faster," Henry chuffed miserably. "You're just being lazy," teased Thomas. By the time Thomas and Percy reached the coaling plant, they had a naughty plan. "Please, sir," said Thomas, "Henry wants to take more freight cars." "He is bigger," added Percy. The odd manager agreed. Meanwhile, Emily was talking to Sir Topham Hatt. "I'm worried about Henry." Perhaps his tubes are leaking," replied Sir Topham Hatt. "You'd better check." By the time Henry reached the coaling plant, Thomas and Percy had already left. "Why did Thomas and Percy leave me so many freight cars?" moaned Henry. "They know I'm not feeling well." "We'll still have to take them," said his driver. Henry chuffed and puffed and pulled his long line of freight cars. "You can do it, Henry," encouraged his driver. But it was no use. Henry ground to a halt. Just then Emily arrived. "Are you all right, Henry?" "No," moaned Henry. "I'm stuck." Henry's firemen uncoupled the heavy freight cars. Emily changed tracks and then hooked up to Henry. "Oh, thank you, Emily," wished Henry. Emily and Henry puffed into the docks. "Well done, Emily," said Sir Topham Hatt. "Thank you, sir." Then he spoke to Henry. "You were brave, Henry. You weren't well, but you still tried to pull the heavy freight cars." Thomas and Percy felt ashamed. "We're sorry, Henry," said Thomas. "We didn't think you were really sick," added Percy. "Go back and collect Henry's freight cars," said Sir Topham Hatt sternly. "Yes, sir," whispered Thomas. Soon Henry was mended and back at work. "You're looking so much better," said Emily. "Well, they mended my tubes, but they didn't even look at my brakes, my gauges, my squeaky wheels." Emily smiled. "All in good time, Henry." Poor Henry.
It was a moonlit night. Henry was taking a goods train to the station by the lake. "Whenever that owl hoots, a mist rolls in," murmured Edward. "There's a legend that when the mist's about, there's a ghost about too. Take care on the old line, Henry." "Stupid bird," said Henry. Owls, mists, ghosts. Edward's going soft at the boiler. There's no mist. But Henry was wrong. What's that? Cried Henry. It's an amber lamp, murmured his driver. That means proceed with caution. Who's there? No one replied. Henry crept slowly forward. He stopped by a tree. It had a sign nailed to it, "Beware of the viaduct." The driver was surprised. No one warned us about that before. And look, the signal's red. And the gates are closed. And there's a fogman's coat. But where is its owner? Then they saw a light move within the station building. Ghosts! Exclaimed Henry. Edward was right. Something very strange is happening, said his driver. I think it's best we go back. So do I, agreed Henry. By morning, the mist had cleared. A workman was talking about the unsafe viaduct. Lucky you didn't cross it last night. Yes, but we don't know who warned us, replied Henry's driver. Later that day, he spoke to Henry. The viaduct has been repaired. We can take our train back along the old line tonight. Henry really didn't want to. But when nightfall came, he was sizzling nicely. Suddenly, an owl hooted, and then Gordon thundered by. Oh, look, Henry's spooked, said a freight car. Be quiet, snapped Henry. I'm not scared. But he was. A little later, the fog came down. As they approached the same area, they saw the amber light again. Here we go, said Henry's driver. Then, unknown to Henry, the gates mysteriously closed by themselves, and the signal went red. The freight cars had seen everything, and they were spooked. Faster, faster, there's a ghost about. Stop, stop, yelled Henry. A mysterious figure watched Henry go by. Ahead was a landslide blocking the line. Henry braked hard, but the freight cars hit some of the rubble and plunged into the ravine. Just then, Henry's driver saw a strange sight coming towards them. What's that? He said. The fireman laughed. That's our ghost. It's Old Bailey, the fogman. Old Bailey was very cross. I tried to warn you about the viaduct. Why didn't you pay attention? We're sorry, replied the driver. Is there anything we can do to thank you? I'd like to operate that old station. If you let me, I promise I won't spook Henry again. And in a little while, Old Bailey's wish was granted. You and your station will be really useful, said Sir Topham Hatt. Let's hear a hearty thank you to the friendliest, ghost on the island. Everyone cheered, especially Henry, who was the happiest of all.